Chapter 3.
No, yeah, virtual reality, you're absolutely true. That is like the next wave in live concerts. I do get worried though, right? So if we're all going to festivals and shows on our phone, like that sounds great. Like I don't have to go drive 5 hours and I don't have to be around super drunk people and I can be in the comfort of my own home and take my own shower and this and that. But it's like at the same time, you're losing that personal connection to other
Yeah.
people that you can only get at like a festival like that energy.
Totally. And which is why that's something that like personally I'm always interested in, and if I were to ever become an asshole, that would be the way I do money. But right now it's just a thought. Just cuz I love music too much to want to take that experience away from other people, and I know that once you put that opportunity in front of them, they have no choice but to accept it,
Right.
$10 to visit Bonnaroo on your phone is something I wouldn't even pass up.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be the person that allowed that to happen,
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that that's like a big opportunity that you're missing it on. But it's not why I got into music.
Right.
I didn't do it to become rich, and I also understand I won't become rich,
Right.
Just gotta do it because you love it. So you're 100% right. Like you can't take away the experience. That's it. I'm sure there's people who are totally willing to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say a majority of the population probably
yeah.
willing to do that.
But there's something to be said about like the simpler things, and I feel like with how everything is moving so quickly and the way things are transitioning, where the interests are going, it's hard to recognize like the value in the very simple things that are handed to you.
Right.
Like a concert experience.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's interesting too, like, so the way that I look at VR is the way that digital music went from like CDs to digital music, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know how convenient it was going to be. It wasn't at the best interest of the artist because you're compressing the songs. You're really not hearing a lot. A lot of people listening to songs just through their earbuds instead of through like a nice car stereo or their home stereos. And so I feel like once we've kind of saturated that market, then what happened? Vinyl started getting real popular again.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so it was like kind of like the anti-streaming.
Yeah.
So I feel like VR is going to pick up, get very popular, but then people are going to eventually it's going to get saturated and then
Yeah,
go back
totally.
to. So that's what I think is really cool. Being older and being in the music industry, you get kind of depressed because you're like, fuck, you see these 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds and like that person has a shit ton of talent. They're going to do really well.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, your
Fucking
window.
12 and like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Or these like YouTube vloggers that are like 10, 12 years old,
Yeah.
tons of subscribers and shit. And you're like, wow, good for you. That's fantastic.
Oh, shit.
And so you feel, you do as a performing or recording artist, you kind of do in a sense have a range. You hit your 30s, it's like, oh, you're kind of old, depending on what
Yeah.
genre you want to
Yeah,
do, right?
but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, but the cool part about that though is that you see the cycles, and I feel like you can start to predict, okay, when is this next genre of music, when is this next platform going to get popular? And having that previous knowledge of seeing it go from nothing to getting really popular before is like you kind of have an understanding of how that framework's going to go.
Yeah, which is really interesting. Like, I'll probably use an analogy that like you may not get because it's on the spot, but it's the same thing. When you're the musician, you're running around in circles. You're trying to generate as much energy and get as much out of your career as possible. When you take a step out and are in the music business, the entity that controls that, you kind of get to put your hand on their head and stop them when you want them to stop.
Yeah.
You get to push them aside and direct them in different directions. You are in a sense like the person who gets to make sure that when they're spinning faster, or they get to,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you watch it all go down, you watch it unfold. So interesting that you say that because, obviously I haven't gotten the experience to watch trends unfold, but you do see that like I read a lot online,
Right.
not in books, but so I do kind of put together the puzzle pieces on how things are working. I mean, you look at the EDM culture and it's
Yes.
like, while it is dying, it's like anything else that died at its peak, it's just going to maintain,
Right. It's going to maintain, it's going to go underground, and then in
Yeah.
like 10 years, someone's going to bring it back and it's going to get popular again.
And it's going to be more appreciated the next time around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, I was super happy when folk music, Americana started going away because I'm not a huge fan of that stuff.
Yeah.
But then like at the same time, I'm saying, okay, what's the next genre that's going to start coming back. And it's cool to kind of see glimpses of bands like doing ska music, and you're like, okay, I remember Real Big Fish, the Warped Tour days when that shit was popular.
Warped Tour was good.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, is that going to take off? Well, maybe not quite yet, or and it's all about timing, which is really hard to explain and have younger bands understand. It's like, yeah, your music's great, but it's not the right time for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I see a lot of like rock bands coming back. Like alternative rock has just gotten heavier and heavier.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I used to not like be a major rock guy, but I mean, you can't help but love just like rock bands that make absolute bangers.
Yeah, dude.
Vanagram, Nothing But Thieves.
Yeah.
And the bands that do it, and they don't sound like anybody else. That's a cool part.
I think the new Glass Animals is a perfect example of that.
Glass Animals.
That shit is off the hook.
Yeah, somebody just introduced me to that. Like,
yeah, dude.
Oh, man. It's like mind-blowing, too. Like, you don't see bands like, what was that, their third album?
It might be. It's their second major album, but it might be their third album as a band.
So it would technically be their sophomore release?
Right.
Okay. For a sophomore release, that is like...
That's next level shit. Yeah.
Like, a lot of bands just kind of come with like a dinky thing, because they're jaded or whatever. Right. And then they come out with like a third album that's just historic. But
yeah. And it's interesting too, because when you get to that first album, you've had your entire career to write that first album, and then it's great and everyone's into it. And then it's like, depending on what label you sign to or what your cycle looks like, maybe your sophomore album, you only have 6 months to write.
Right.
And so it's like before you had 10 years to write this one album, now you only have 6 months, and that sophomore curse, man, that's a real thing.
Yeah. 10 years and no expectations,
right.
6 months and the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting that like you have like a very spot on perspective of that. Like,
oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. I can tell like you definitely know.
I think about this shit all the time.
Yeah. You can't help it. So you just be sitting there like, there's nothing else to think about.
Right.
Just like,
or just reading probably like the same thing that you read, like Hits Daily Double or like Hypebot or Billboard Biz. Yeah. It's just like seeing different things. I think the thing that gets me the most, and I don't know, maybe you have a better insight to this, is when you see young artists like Miley Cyrus or Justin Bieber. So they have this like very innocent look when they come up. And then I feel like when they want to start getting taken seriously by the older crowds, when they want to make that transition, those two in particular kind of went like the badass way. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be a badass when I'm an adult. And then I'm going to apologize. And hey, guess what? I don't know if you've seen the show Atlanta.
I have seen Atlanta. Yeah.
So like the last week's episode, dude, that's a great show.
Yeah, it is a great show.
Yeah. They were kind of making fun of that whole idea. And they had like a guy on there, and they called him Justin Bieber, and he was kind of like the black Justin Bieber, and he was just doing the whole thing, like being that whole bad boy thing and coming out and apologizing. And he's like, oh, and by the way, at this press release from apologizing, I'm going to be dropping my new album. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, this marketing stunt has kind of like gone off the rails.
Yeah, it has. I actually don't really know why they do that. It makes sense though, like when you look at it. You know, like that makes total sense. Because I latched on to Justin when I fucking hated the dude. Like, and then he came out with that Purpose shit, and I hated the marketing behind it. I was like, you are a douchebag. Like, fuck you. But your music rules. Like it's very catchy. You obviously had somebody putting effort into that. I don't know. I never really been a huge fan of Miley. I liked her early stuff, like when it was catchy. You gotta respect the catchy.
Oh, music. Absolutely.
But I think they do it just because that way you can kind of tap into like older markets who are less thrilled about being cute, or that's kind of how they maintain that Disney crowd that's grown up the same time they've grown up, like me. When she came out, I was watching Disney Channel. I was like 11 and 12.
Right.
7 years later, she's got to maintain my interest, because that's how you create longevity, is maintaining the interest of a single market over a period of time.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what she went for, was like my demographic, 18 to 24. It's perfect. Worked out really well.
And it's interesting. I wonder if they take more of that approach now because we become so desensitized to things, just seeing everything you could ever see in the world.
Probably. Yeah.
Because like when I grew up, it was like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears. They were on like the Disney Channel, right? And I feel like Justin Timberlake, out of all of those kid artists, like made the smoothest transition. Now he got real lucky getting hooked up with Timbaland. Yeah. And like that's kind of, to me, what kind of took him over the edge. But he's he's got that personality. I feel like, oh, he could be your friend. You know what I mean? Kind of like Jimmy Fallon. You're like, fuck, I want to be that guy's friend.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
love Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, dude.
What was that one single Justin did with Timbaland? It was "Carry Out." Love that song.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always interesting seeing, and I've always questioned like, is that the label at work, or is that the artist and his or her manager at work?
It's usually the manager. You
think so?
The label. They work so hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost. I don't think that's how it is, but it's kind of like the booking agent. It's like second hand, and then that label controls so many aspects of your career, especially on a major label. They control every single aspect of your career, and then the manager is there just to kind of like guide it. You know, make sure because they have the final say. Right. But, you know, the record label is all the money. Right. So
the manager, man, I feel bad for those people sometimes. They got to deal with the bullshit from the artist who are very, I call it bullshit, but I feel like a lot of artists are so passionate. Yeah. Right? So when something bad happens, it's just like the end of the fucking world. Yeah. It's like, guys, calm down. It isn't that bad. So you got to deal with that. And you got to deal with all the major label bullshit too.
You got to deal with all of that. And you got, I don't even know. I mean, you're dealing with like 2 a.m. phone calls
dude.
When a show goes wrong.
Yep. You're essentially babysitting on one side and then having to kind of answer to, you know, whoever the manager is on the other side.
I don't know how people manage multiple bands.
I don't know either.
Yeah. I met a manager, like the first time I ever met like a big time manager, I was in Des Moines doing a show for Mammoth, working like the box office or something. And he came in and it was like Shine Down or something. And I was like, holy fuck, dude, you look stressed. The same thing with you. I was like, bags under his eyes, and like the dude did not want to talk to anybody. He was just on his phone the whole time. I was like, I'm glad I'm not you, man.
Yeah.
You know, props to you for what you do.
That's a tough job. I feel like that job and being an A&R, especially these days at a major label, like talk about high stress.
Yeah.
Like your entire career is riding on if these 2 or 3 artists you're pitching are going to make it.
Exactly. And like A&R for booking agencies too. Like, our buddy, we have a buddy at UTA who, goes to Indiana University. He just got hired at UTA as an A&R. Yeah. And I'm guessing that's like an entry-level thing, but he has to like pitch bands and shit. I was like, dude, no fucking way. Because like all the bands I love are already signed, and, you know, like, God, dude, that's so stressful. Like, there's a lot of research, and you have to be very detail-oriented, I feel like, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, are you familiar with, I'm not too familiar with A&R, but are you?
Familiar in a sense from just like an indie label's perspective.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like understanding, okay, where's the label at? Okay, what is going to help what is going to help, you know, get the purpose of the label at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
So it's always something different. It's like, okay, are we doing really well in the local market? Like, do people have name recognition? No? Okay, well, where is there a local artist that we can sign to kind of remind people that we're still here?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, if you have that, then it's like, okay, how are our sales doing? Are we coming close to our numbers from last year and to our projections for this year? If we're not, okay, what is it going to take? Is it going to take getting like an out-of-state artist who already has, like you had mentioned earlier, a booking agent and a manager on board, and so we can kind of rely on what their numbers are going to look like for their next album sale?
Yeah.
Or like, what does the timing look like? Are you really into an artist, and do they have a project that's ready to get released? Yeah. You know, how much money are we going to invest into that? Are we going to do vinyl? Are we going to do a CD? Are we going to do it just digitally? And so there's so many things that come into play.
It's like a fat headache.
Dude. It is. But when everything fucking works, it is fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
you're just like, holy shit, this all worked. All this time I put into these different marketing campaigns and this PR campaign and radio campaign, and just having to understand, like, are they going to do well on radio? What's popular on radio? Are they out touring? Is it college radio? Is it AAA that we're trying to go after? So it's like the massive problem solving task. You know what I mean?
It's really cool though, because I imagine like, because you have like a very developed, interesting perspective on music.
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, so much so that like I'm learning a lot from talking to you.
I appreciate it.
And it's really cool because like I my guess would be that you got a lot of that just from like getting hands-on experience.
That's where a majority of it came from. Like, so I got my master's in music business from Berkeley, and I was like, this is going to be fucking money. And so you learn about all this shit. And so when I went and I started interning at the record machine, I was like, well, there's all these great ideas they taught me in school. And it's like, that's when you have budgets of like 100 to 200,000. Yeah. We can't do half of that shit. So you got to get really creative with it.
Yeah. Wait, so you went to Berkeley?
Uh-huh.
What'd you,
master's in music business.
fuck, dude.
Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome.
Thanks, man.
Damn, dude. We should
Yeah.
get coffee some more sometime. Like,
Absolutely, yeah. Because I started playing in bands, and I was like, this is fun, but I'm fucking kind of lazy.
yeah.
And so, like, touring is super cool, but it's very hard. And I love songwriting, but I like songwriting that's not ever gonna make money.
Yeah.
And more like experimental, off time, heavier type shit. So I was
Feel
like,
that.
well, I do like the business side of it, and it's really interesting seeing how different artists break because. Like this artist who got really popular, there's no fucking way that they took the same route as that artist.
Yeah.
And
You're
like,
like, how the hell are you famous?
yeah,
You know?
dude,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like, okay, what does their background look like? Because typically, what I saw like in the late '90s was, okay, this band people thought blew up overnight, but no, they've been together for 10 years.
Yeah.
They've been grinding, and like they finally got that opportunity. Where now it's like, okay, yeah, this person did blow up overnight. What did they do? Well, they went on some fucking stupid Twitter rant about someone else, or and not dogging him at all because it was great for him, like being the song after Kanye.
Yeah.
And getting attention off that. It's got to be good. Like you're talking about, the product has to be like on point.
Yeah.
But it's like seeing those small things happen now with everything being so digital.
So true. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. So did you spend 4 years there? 6 years?
I did it in 2 years. Yeah, a master. It was only a master's. So I have my undergraduate.
Yeah, only a master.
I got my undergraduate in electrical engineering, and then I was like, this pays the bills, but this is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So, I was kind of dilly-dallying, like, should I not? My wife was like, just fucking do it. Stop being a pussy. Just go do it. I was like, all right, good call. So, yeah, I signed up and did it, and it was cool, man, because some of the guys that I went to school with, like, are managers. Some of the guys, like, work at bigger labels, and just hearing, what they're doing and just think. I think that was the biggest thing about Berkeley, because I feel like I could have gotten the same education at another school, but the contacts that you gain from that,
I'd imagine.
like, to me, was, like, the most important thing.
So did you go to the one in Boston?
Boston.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I got some buddies who just study music, like performance there, jazz and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck, dude. That's awesome, man.
It's a great school, and like all the professors in that particular program like worked in industry, and
That's
so
killer.
they had great stories.
I know this guy, when I did that camp, a long time ago.
Yeah.
One of the guys who was a guest speaker, his name's Radar Ellis. He was a DJ, and he was like really connected and influenced by Jay Dilla.
Okay.
And he teaches like a class on DJing at Berkeley.
It's so dope.
Yeah, I think it's like as part of the course, he talks a lot about Jay Dilla, and I guess he's really involved with their foundation, the Jay Dilla Foundation or whatever that is. It's pretty cool. Like all the people I know that go to Berkeley are just like the most suave motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like they're always like, I did jazz band with this dude. He's like a killer drummer and an amazing saxophone player and just a bomb-ass piano player. The dude plays every instrument better than anybody I know, like just a prodigy.
Yeah.
And he would show up to school like wearing a suit and tie.
Oh, shit.
Like always had his Bluetooth earpiece in during class. Like this kid was a bitch. And I fucking loved it. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. His name's Houston.
Yeah, man. You run into some interesting characters there.
Yeah, those are people who I feel like go to that kind of school, and are very serious about what they do. Like those are successful
You gotta
individuals.
be, man. Like, when you're paying that much for that kind of school, or even Belmont too, man.
Even Belmont, it's like almost the same price, I think.
Yeah.
But living on the coast.
Yeah.
I lived in Nashville, and you can make that work on a broke ass budget, but you cannot live on the coast in Boston with a broke budget.
Yeah, it's extremely fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Or just even down in Los Angeles, where all the major music hubs are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dallas from Right Room, he goes to Harvard.
Oh, nice.
He like does it as like a free time. He does part-time at Harvard or whatever online. Then some days he'll just like fly up to Boston and for like a week and then come back, And he talks about how much he loves Boston and he wants to like start a music venue there.
Yeah, man. Like I'll be honest, I grew up on the West Coast, so I'm more partial to the West Coast. The East Coast like has their shit together, like transportation wise, like especially in Boston. You talk about you want to get somewhere and not having to drive because you really can't. Like New York, Boston, New Jersey, like
you can't own a car there.
No, you really can't. We're like out in Los Angeles, like you have to own a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm not a huge fan of the East Coast, but it is amazing, and that's where like such good, like my favorite hip hop comes out from the East Coast.
Totally.
Yeah.
Some good ass hip hop that comes from the East Coast, like New York and shit like that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wu-Tang, Staten Island, is
Wu-Tang.
OGs for me, man.
Yeah, dude.
Just hearing that, like new Banks and Steel, like RZA and dude from Interpol,
dude.
like that shit, that's dope.
Did you go to the show?
I didn't.
No,
fuck. I wanted to. It's tough for me to go to shows on weekdays because I wake up at 5:30 to go to my day job.
Oh yeah.
Damn, dude. My buddy told me about that. I was like, fuck, I'd love to see RZA like at the Riot Room. Like, are you kidding me?
I think. Did he ever tour solo?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of Smoke D. You know DZA. Oh, I think he's part of some like old school shit, and he came and played Riot, and it like sold out, and I had no idea who the fuck that dude was.
Right.
He was dope.
Nice.
But yeah, some cool hip hop. You ever heard of Cool Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dude who was competing with Lupe. I was telling you about.
Shit.
We're gonna bring him to the Tank Room.
That would be fucking off the hook, dude.
Yeah, it was like an anniversary tour.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I really want to do this, but I just can't. Lupe Fiasco is gonna go nuts.
Yeah. That is tough, man. When you see big festivals come around, you're like, fuck, why didn't they get that super dope hip hop guy? It's well, you can't really wage your bets on them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough, man.
It's tough.
Definitely is tough. So kind of tell me like what's in the future for you? Do you have like goals set that you want to get to, or just kind of taking it day by day, or
day by day?
Yeah.
Trying to really involve as many people into this Sofar thing as possible, because I think bringing something that has international recognition to a city that is growing, you've got to have like a big team, and usually their team consists of 3 to 4 people, but I want to get Boulevard on board, so, and you on board.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that. As I feel like it's going to be a cool opportunity for like, and almost an incentive for like bands to compete again. I think that was like kind of something that got lost, was that everybody kind of felt like because they had built duration, they had built, You
do make a good point, but it's like healthy competition.
Yeah, healthy competition, like working for something, instead of bitching when you don't get it. Not saying that bands do that, but you understand the concept.
They fucking do that all the time. You're absolutely right there. Yeah, it's like, okay, your homies are doing well, and it's like, okay, well, what can I do to one up them?
Exactly. Like we have and I gotta give a shout out to these dudes. You know the dudes at Gecko? We all went to high school with those dudes. Like they're homies, and you can always tell. Like I remember we dropped our record, and it was just like our first record. It was all demos, and we just needed to get music out because we weren't getting booked without music. So we're just like, fuck it, let's just end the process here and put it out. And then they came out with the record that was just like, holy shit. And like it was just so well produced and in your face, and I was like, all right, our next one has to be better than theirs. And then like they're working on some new music now, and we started really working on our live show, and then they started crushing their live show. If you have not seen Gecko live, you have got to see Gecko live. Like it's the coolest thing. And so it's kind of cool, like that friendly competition. Like we hang out on the weekends, we make music together, we jam, and and then it's back to the grind for all of us. It's really fun. Like you talk about the healthy competition. You don't see that a lot, You
really don't, and that's what propels the scene, man. That's what makes it so strong. Like I see it a lot in hip hop, and just being more engrossed in the local hip hop scene. Like what these guys are doing. Like one guy kind of gets a little bit of notoriety, and then you have like his buddy who he shouts out to, and so like they're in competition, but they're still supporting one another and building it together.
Exactly.
I mean, to me, like that's the biggest thing. When I talked to Marcus Yates, who is associated with Strange Music, and we were just kind of talking. I'm kind of thinking, like, how does Strange do it, right? Like, obviously they have that flagship artist, Tech Nine, but they have a whole bunch of other artists who do really fucking well. Yeah, and it's like, what do they do that other labels aren't doing? It's like, man, just that. When one person has, let's say, one artist has a release, and they put all that money into PR, into on shows and whatnot, they're always talking about like the rest of their team. Yeah. And it's like fucking free publicity for the rest of your team who might have another album dropping in like another month. And then once their album drops, they're talking about the guy who just dropped his album.
Right. And then you're like making a music video that has all of those dudes in that. Dude, yeah, I feel that. That's why Strange Music is so successful. Like, dude. And you don't ever see them like dogging on people, right? At least publicly. Maybe in their lyrics a few times, but there's nothing but love that comes from that camp.
Yeah, I'm trying to break that fucking code.
Yeah,
like the most successful independent music label is in our backyard. Like, what is their secret, man?
Yeah, dude, and which is crazy. It's like we live down the street from like a legendary business model.
Exactly.
You know, like I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's working.
It's working.
Yeah.
And they just keep growing and growing. I remember I went to like this one Hot 103 Jams conference up at one of the casinos like years ago. And Travis, the CEO of Strange, was talking and he's like, yeah, the first time we went to Denmark, Tech Nine went out there, first time, fucking sold out, outdoor venue. I'm like, Jesus Christ. How
Denmark?
do you do that? Yeah, Denmark. Yeah.
God, dude.
You know what I mean? It was interesting hearing him because someone started asking him a little bit about, a lot of artists there were just kind of there to pitch themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really want to hear about your shit. I want to hear about what this guy did, like what the blueprint looks like. But someone asked me, what do you do when you market an album? One thing he mentioned was having 3 touch points. Because what they've found out is that after 3 touch points, so like if I see your ad on Facebook and then maybe there's a magazine that I like reading and then I see the ad there and then maybe I see your name on Spotify, by that 3rd time, I'm probably going to check you out because I've seen you that many times in things that I trust.
Yeah, totally. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that's such a smart.
It
It's
is.
something as simple as that.
That's
Placement.
Yeah, exactly. Placement, right? And it's stuff that like we're all trying to. What's the algorithm to how do we get on Shazam? How do we get more plays on Shazam? Because that's what A&Rs are looking at. People blowing up, and it's like fuck. No, go back to the basics.
Is there a way to check Shazam numbers?
If you can, if you get a subscription to it, and I think it's really fucking expensive. Like,
Really?
like I've always wanted to have a Shazam subscription and a Polestar subscription.
Yeah, Polestar. That's the expensive one.
Yeah.
Luckily, when you start working for a company,
Yeah.
usually one person at least has a Polestar account.
Right.
When I was interning, they let me borrow their Polestar, and it's actually something I have not told a single person, but I'll tell it today. Is that when I was leaving, I finished all my work early, and I would stay at my internship was supposed to be through December, and I left like Thanksgiving break in November. Because I would just stay overnight in the office and like just grind it out and do a lot of personal shit, like take a lot of the resources that I was allowed to take and just take.
Sure.
And one of them was they had a Polestar book of like
shit.
a talent buyer directory. And I was trying to book festivals for Captiva at the time, and I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Snagged it, and it has just changed the game.
Yeah, dude.
And Polestar is shit. Like you can see anything, In fact, it was just so weird. Like the other day, we just got asked to like report shows to Polestar. You have to report numbers.
Right.
I've never done that before, but I guess it's like a big thing.
It's huge.
To report the numbers and stuff like that. You can, for everybody who like doesn't know what Polestar is, like
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
it's like the everything of anything when it comes to like numbers in the music business. And they have like a blog that they do music industry news and stuff like that.
And they have a conference every year.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
in February.
Are you going?
I want to go to this next one. It's in Los Angeles. I wish it was in Nashville.
Yeah.
So like, fuck, that's a lot closer. But yeah, it is. And like, that's a super solid. I haven't gone before, but everyone's told me about it.
Yeah, I haven't gone either.
So I definitely want to check that out. I was in San Francisco last year, I think.
Yeah,
This year.
Going to conferences, like I've never been to a conference, but I've been to like a festival conference kind of thing, Americana Folk Fest in Nashville. I was interning. It's this time, like it just happened this past weekend, I believe, or this past week. And it's really cool. Like you just go to all these different venues. Madison Ward was playing that year.
Nice.
And then they have like conferences and stuff like that. I got to go see Don Henley at the Ryman.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, with Shaky Graves and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really cool. Like he hooked it up that week. Yeah, you kind of felt like a rock star. You're like, I got the badge. Walking around.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fuck, I'm the youngest person here, and nobody knows who I am.
That's the cool part, though. They're like, why is this young guy here? He must be something special.
Yeah, I remember sitting next to this lady, started hitting on me. I was like, I think you're here for the wrong reason. Yeah, she's like, what are you doing later? And I was like, probably going to bed. I got work tomorrow.
But yeah, and man, like those conferences, like that's another thing. Like musicians, like go to conferences. Focal Lines, one of the best things that we have here. Focal Lines, middle of the Map Fest.
Middle of the Map.
There's always that like forum, and then during Focal Lines, you can that's where you want to meet people.
Middle is really cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of like South by.
It is. That's what it was modeled after.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like I think it's so dope, and it's only going to grow. Like
yeah.
Luckily, Mammoth has the opportunity to be involved with that and talent buying and everything. And I believe we just kind of started getting into that I mean, you're always booking that year round, you know, but
Right.
right now the planning is getting pretty heavier.
It is.
I'm sure you've done a lot of planning with middle of the map with Record Machine and
I
stuff
see
like
a
that.
lot of it because Record Machine curates a lot of it.
Yeah.
So like I've had the opportunity to kind of give my input on more hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would love to see more hip hop.
Yeah, yeah.
But again,
They
it's
do need to
like,
put more hip hop there.
it's tough, man,
Yeah.
because it's like, what's gonna draw people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, I think it'd be really cool instead of doing like a specific hip hop stage,
Mm-hmm.
you could have one of those maybe, but I think it'd be awesome just to integrate it into the schedule
Throughout.
you know, so that, you know, somebody sees Yes You Are and then here comes like Dominico or,
Right.
you know, something like that. Like, and I love that dude. He's awesome.
Dude, Nico's dope.
Nico's really dope. Like his
Yeah.
live show is always lit. Yeah. He'll
Dude,
get,
Nico, Secondhand King, like all those guys.
yeah, Joe's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I like Joe a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting him last year, or like a year and a half ago, and he's just like the coolest guy.
Yeah,
Really
he's
nice to
super
meet.
down to earth. Like he's definitely carving his path on like what he wants to do, like the whole doo-wop thing, and
Yeah.
then, you know, reaching out to a non-hip hop artist to play like an album release show, and like his singing's getting a lot better. So I mean, and he's just kind of like the cusp of hip hop in Kansas City. There's just
Yeah.
so many dope MCs that I just feel like people need to get out and, you know, view
Yeah,
them more. And
there are a
that's
lot.
exactly why I started the Record Machine Hip Hop Hour, is to try to expose like the demographics of the
Mm-hmm.
Record Machine to hip hop, because it's so good. I hear 103 Jams and I'm like, God damn it, there's so much better music coming out of Kansas
Yeah.
City. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when did you start the hip hop? So you started like the hip hop division.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome,
I
man.
signed Ilphonics from St. Louis because I was like, man, I love hip hop, and they make sense because they're a live hip hop band,
Yeah.
like, no samples, all live instrumentation, and you know they get down and they fit with a lot of other good artists on the label, and just like understanding them and their demographic, and just, you know, knowing a couple of MCs around the area and just diving more into it in Kansas City, it's just like it's so much good music.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just specifically a lot of the Record Machine, it's like it's indie rock or like electronic type pop, which the label has grown. But, you know, I always go back to, I was talking to the guys in Conflicts like months ago, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what's your favorite label? Because like mid 2000s, late 90s, it was like, for me, everything that Trustkill put out or Solid State put out, it was like, that was my go-to because I knew exactly what that band was
Yeah.
going to sound like, you know?
Yeah.
But like now with the digital streaming age and everyone up on SoundCloud and different music platforms, it's like a lot of people don't have that allegiance, I don't feel, like to a particular label.
Yeah, I feel that. That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like you saw, like, I mean, Epic would be one, but they're also like an anomaly
Right.
in many forms.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so true.
Like Epitaph, maybe like
Yeah.
they kind of picked up kind of like the harder metal bands, like the punk bands,
Yeah.
kinda, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I kind of use that and was like, well, people do expect that from the Record Machine, but let's give this a shot because I feel like it has similarities, and like it's done really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel that's just like exposing those folks to, I think Lawrence really appreciates hip hop, and the hip hop that comes out of
Yeah.
Lawrence is super solid. But I feel like here in the city, you know, not saying that Strange music overshadows it, but I feel like if you talk to anyone in Kansas City, do you like hip hop? They're like, yeah, I love Strange music. It's like,
Or I
"Ah."
love Mac Lethal.
Yeah,
you
or I
know?
love Mac Lethal. It's like, yeah, those guys have done their time. Like, they're definitely talented, but there's so much other exciting things
Yeah,
going on.
totally. That's awesome. Like, you're
Trying to be an
facilitating
ambassador
that.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like being an ambassador. That's badass, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So hopefully something will take, man, because it just takes one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all it takes, dude. Yeah.
And like props to Steady P from Indie Ground,
Mm-hmm.
like doing his thing. Like he's done fantastic, bringing a lot of those guys up, and like Marty from Ebony Tusks, you know, crossing over from cowboy into hip hop and bringing
Dude,
the
Ebony
fans with him.
Tusks.
It's an experience, man.
Yeah, dude. They
You want
are
to talk about
awesome.
a live show? That
yeah.
shit is off the hook.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw them play with Public Enemy and Lawrence,
Yeah.
but fuck,
Dude.
like if you have not seen that band yet, please
Yeah.
go see that band.
They're fantastic.
And I actually bought my Mac from Geese.
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
Nathan Geese.
Nathan, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I bought my. He works at him and one of the dudes from what are they called? They're one of the, like the psych rock bands. I forget what their name, but a dope band. Him and like a few other locals. They work at the Apple Store
Oh,
in
yeah.
the plaza. So sometimes I'll just pop in and say what's up.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I didn't even realize that. And I was asking the dude who I was buying my computer from, I was like, oh, so what do you do like outside of here? He's like, oh, I'm a musician. I said, no shit.
Yeah.
And he needed my email address to like get everything logged in. And I told him the Mammoth one. And he's like, oh, do you know Pat? And I said, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm Nathan from Ebony Tusks. And that's really cool, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in Apple Store. Like that shit, I feel like that just makes all the musicians kind of congregate.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, oh, we all need new shit. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. Just talking with more people is like you realize how small the world it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always the fun part when you have that like revelation. You're like, God, it's so small.
So cool, man. So like, do you want to plug anything else? Check out the new Captiva single.
Yeah, new single, Check Your System.
Check out Firm. What's the website for Firm?
Firm, still getting a website. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it was like a 2 week ago, just started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Yeah, so it's just started.
Very cool.
Yeah, just, I don't know, go to some shows. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming in, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah.
It's always a blast.